We are back with On the Road of Recovery with EJ from Chillicothe, Ohio. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for coming out and joining us. Could you describe a bit of your childhood, what it was like, talk about your friends, family?
I grew up in Ross County, born and raised there. Went to school at Adena Schools there in Clarksburg originally, kindergarten clear up through 8th grade. Did high school over in Frankfort, so that's the Adena school system. Fairly normal childhood. Did suffer, which kind of details what happened to me later in life, which I'll go into detail. But I did have some childhood sexual abuse when I was younger. I was probably between the ages of 4 and 5 and 6 when that happened. It was a male cousin of mine. So definitely traumatic. I hid it from the family for a while because I was threatened and had a lot of not just physical and sexual abuse things done, but threatening to my life and just a lot of torment. So it was definitely a lot of emotional scars, but I feel kind of like it is my survivor story, and I've been known to post that on social media and be kind of proactive in that because I want people to know it's okay to talk about it. Some of us men don't talk about it as often as we should because it's kind of considered taboo. And we need to talk about it just as much as the women do because it is an issue. And if us as men and boys don't talk about it, then it's not going to be taken care of properly.
Absolutely. That's for sure. Well, thank you for sharing today.
You're welcome.
And at what point did you start experimenting with drugs or alcohol?
Alcohol, I say I was pretty young. I was probably about 15
Okay.
when I started like kind of doing the seltzer drinks, as they call it, which is something that they just came back with not too long ago. But it was kind of fairly new when I was a young teenager. So I did that, and then I kind of went into just the basic beers and stuff. But when I got into being a more of age adult, I kind of got into the hard liquor, and I would have blackouts pretty bad and get into fist fights, considering I was like normal happy-go-lucky drunk. But then when I started getting really aggressive and mean, I decided to kind of stop because I had gotten into some altercations with my family, and it just wasn't necessary. So I actually did away with that.
Okay. And were you able to stop cold turkey? Did you get some help for that?
I feel I was fortunate. I was able to, I say it like a dual thing. I was able to stop cold turkey, but my family really helped me, knowing like what I had done and the way I was acting when I was doing that. So I was able to just kind of stop out of the love for them and just for knowing how badly I acted with it. Before I actually stopped drinking alcohol, I had experiences of anxiety and depression. So I was actually put on medication for that. And I think that did not help the facts of my alcoholism. It made things a little worse and caused the effects of the alcohol to be more strong. And after I quit, I still was on the anxiety and depression medicine. And then later, I was diagnosed as living with bipolar disorder, which caused a major episode. I was diagnosed with it after I had a major episode, psychotic break, basically, in March of 2006.
Okay. And at that point in time, were you able to get help?
I was able to get help through a mental health facility. And I was also placed on like 1A in a hospital for about 3 days. But at that time, they didn't really know the level of my illness. So I wasn't really put on proper medication and or like education of the illness. So I had actually missed only a few days of work, went back to work, but on a different position. So from like a 35-hour-a-week job to a 40-hour-a-week job, and just didn't really know the mainness of my job. So I was falling asleep with the new medications, a lot of agitation because of the illness. And therefore, come mid-May, I had a second episode, which resulted into several mini episodes throughout the day, more volatile, more cycling, more everything, caused a severe psychosis. So that episode in May caused 2 weeks in a mental hospital.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about what those symptoms were?
Those symptoms range from yelling and screaming to just really being outright belligerent, just unbecoming of myself. I felt like I was kind of like almost watching myself in a movie, and all these kind of rapid thoughts. I explained it to a counselor that I was almost like trying to watch 3 NASCAR races at once, trying to focus on one car, and I couldn't. It was just like many things happening at once. And I felt like I was everywhere. I mean, I just felt like it was literally an out-of-body experience. It was so tiring. By the time they actually got me placed to go to the medical facility that I spent the 2 weeks in, I was totally exhausted because I had went through such a range of emotions.
Right.
From being the physical volatile, then to just boohoo crying, and brought back the childhood trauma. I felt like I was being basically raped again as a child. And then I see my family, but I even became belligerent with my family, unbeknownst to them, not knowing what was going on because they were uneducated. So it just was just really horrible.
Those are some pretty significant consequences. So after you got went in for those 2 weeks, were you able to receive some education and some therapy?
I was able to do quite a bit of therapy, proper medication. What they did was kind of like slowly take me off of what I was on because they felt it wasn't ample enough. Put me on more medication, and then like give me the education that I needed, made sure I left with a lot more education to read up on, and just said, you know, educate yourself. You know, that's what you need to do. And then I was told I wouldn't be able to return to work because of what had happened, because part of it was at work. So I was put on temporary disability from work, and then long story short, was put on permanent Social Security disability due to the severity of my illness.
Okay. And then, so that was 2006. Have you had other episodes since then, or how do you manage your disease?
Well, I say luckily, but I just say through a lot of things, like sometimes my spirituality, my friendships, my medication, my daily rituals. I do a lot that keeps me in balance. So from like June 1st of 2006 is when I got out of the facility to just this June 1st, which would have made 15 years I've been in recovery.
That's
so it's just, I feel like awesome sauce is what I say a lot. And then just the first part of June kind of coinciding with that anniversary, I did the peer support training with Danica. You can see her on another video. But I did the training that she was over, and I'm getting my certificate to be a peer support specialist at my new job. So I'll be actually going back in the workforce.
Very cool. That's pretty exciting.
And I feel that's a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
So recovery rocks, and you too can do it.
Yeah.
So it's just.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about that daily experience, or the daily rituals that you do. Can you go into a bit more detail of what you do on a daily basis for your recovery?
I'm hoping during this interview they can show a picture. It's got a little STC logo on it.
Okay.
I actually have it on my shirt, but I don't know if it shows or not. But I say that everything in life is STC, and that means subject to change. And I had that motto long before I became ill. I actually had it at my former job, and a lot of people laughed about it, but it was just a thing we did because everything is subject to change.
Right.
And when I became ill, I kind of lost that for a while. And one of my best friends that was a coworker told me that I needed to gain that back. And I finally gained it back. And probably about 3 years ago, I went permanent, had it tattooed on my forearm.
Oh, wow.
So there's an STC on my forearm too, which is somewhere on Facebook.
Okay.
On my personal page. But it's just, that's part of my motto. I mean, I got to look at things as STC. Everything is constantly changing. What I may feel tomorrow may be different today, or what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. But it's a constant change. You got to kind of just reevaluate, keep up with it. And that's the way I do things.
And have you found meditation to be helpful for you?
My kind of meditation is just picking something soothing to listen to, or even sometimes rock and roll will help me, depending on my mood. But I'm a big fan of Dolly Parton.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
And she, no matter what she sings, tends to relax me.
Okay.
And I shared that with my group when we did the peer support training. As I'll just put some Dolly in, and she soothes my soul. So
That is spectacular. Whatever works for you.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about what's been possible over the past 15 years that would not have been possible prior to you getting to recovery?
I think removing that stigma. I'm more open and talking about things, just as I am on this video. I think like on my social media, I use like my hashtag STC and then hashtag remove the stigma, because we need to talk about it. If you don't talk about it, people are not going to know about it.
Right.
And not just me as a man, but anybody. I mean, everybody needs to talk about it because there's too much of a stigma.
Absolutely.
And the more you talk, the more people are going to know. And there's one phrase I seen that was cool, and it's okay not to be okay. You know, and you know, even on my down days, you know, I have down days, and it's noticeable, but you just kind of got to pull forward.
Yep.
So it's, you know, not every day is a good day, but you just work through it, and tomorrow's another day. Just look for the brighter days.
Yes, that's for sure. So let me ask you, you shared, and thank you again for being so brave to share about a significant trauma. Can you share a little bit of how you were able to deal with that trauma and grow and heal?
I honestly wasn't able to really truly heal to probably about maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Because it was brought up actually like 15 plus years ago when I first went to the second treatment, when I spent the 2 weeks in the hospital. But I didn't really fully talk about it. I just kind of, because I'd get scared to talk about it because it would always bring up inner turmoil. But I got a counselor that really just kind of like would go in sections and talking about it. Because sometimes I would block things, which is kind of like what our brain does. We block things. And that's the way he had explained it to me. So we just kind of dissected little by little.
Okay.
And I think that's what it takes sometimes, is little steps. We all want to do these huge, giant steps, and it doesn't work.
No.
So.
And you brought up a good point, time, that we need to be able to take that time to heal, and take it step by step, that it's going to be okay, but we do need to give ourselves time.
Oh yeah, because I mean, I look at it, like I said, 15 years in recovery, but yet this abuse happened 40 some years ago. So it's been definitely time consuming. And every time I talk about it, it gets a little easier, but I still get that lump in my throat that just doesn't go away.
Right.
Because it's very affecting when it happens.
Right.
But I think the thing that would bother me the most is if I probably didn't have that effect, or the shakiness, because it's something that was very traumatic.
Absolutely. When you bring up a really good point of standing up and talking about it, and having that courage to do so, that not everybody does, but it also helps with breaking the cycle of the shame-based feeling that there was something that people do that's wrong, that they for some reason deserve that.
Yeah.
And being able to recognize that that nobody deserves that, and being able to heal is something everybody deserves.
Absolutely. Everybody deserves a chance to heal. And it finally gave me my power. It's like, you know, this individual that did this to me, they no longer have the power. And I was able to confront them head on one time. And they know they're no longer valid. They're
What was
nothing.
that experience like for you?
It took a lot of courage. Most definitely.
Yes.
But I was able to nip it and say, you know what you did. Of course, there was denial. But I said, I know what happened, and you can't do nothing no more.
What do you see for your future?
Well, like I said, I just recently became a peer support specialist at my new job. And I see myself continually doing that as long as I can, because that's where I need to be, is letting other peers know, you know, that of course it's okay not to be okay. And then of course my STC philosophy, there will be changes made for them, and the sky's the limit, you know.
Yeah.
that they can do anything they want to also.
Hmm.
You know, whatever they so choose for their future.
Right. Being able to ask for help, how has that changed your life?
Um, in all honesty, it's made me a better man, a better father, better brother. Um, some people think it's a weakness, but it honestly makes you stronger. It builds character, and it makes you better in relationships and friendships.
Mhm.
So to me, where they think it's a weakness, makes you stronger.
So, can you talk a little bit about how your relationships are? So, 15 years is a long time of being in recovery. If you could think back to, like year 2 and 3, uh, what, how were your relationships changed once you did find your way into recovery and really being able to consistently be stabilized and be free? How did your relationships change?
They changed with the fact of me being more open and just being able to be real. I mean, it didn't seem like before it seemed like I was faking things, not meaning to, but it just seemed like I was hiding out. You know, I didn't realize the levels of my illness. So I was like secretly hiding things, even though I wasn't aware of it.
Mhm.
So by being like healthy again, you were being more open with yourself. So therefore you could be open with others.
Okay.
And so it, like I said, it made things better in the end result.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Definitely something like kind of prolific, but you know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Uh, for those people that have been struggling to maintain their recovery, is there anything that you can share when you've had those times of struggles? Because I'm sure 15 years hasn't been all sunshines and rainbow. How can you share a little bit of what you've done to get through those tough times?
I made sure one thing on my business card, I had put, there's a local for Ross County, a local number for crisis line.
Mhm.
But I know sometimes your local line isn't always available. There is the national crisis line.
Mhm.
So I made sure it was okay with my business to put the national crisis line on because usually it's always open.
Mhm.
And I've actually utilized that a few times because not only is your friend sometimes too busy or your family, but call the crisis line because they're a sounding board and sometimes that's all you need to do is just talk things through.
Mhm. And after you have reached out and talked things through, how do you typically end up feeling then?
I always just feel better. I mean, I feel like that's my key point anyways, is talking things through. As you can tell, I've been quite winded here.
Been great. Okay, so let's see here. Is there anything that we missed that you would like to share with our audience?
Not that I'm really aware of.
Okay.
Just you know, they always say when you fall down, just get back up. You know, if you got 2 steps, go back forward.
We really appreciate you coming out to Lancaster today. Your story is going to help so many people that think that they are alone and that there's no hope. You are proof that there is a way into recovery.
Thank you.